Hey guys, it's Otaku the Viking. I'm doing a Fortune Lady deck profile today. This is my own variation. Let me know what you think. We're going to start with the main deck monsters. First and foremost, we start with 3 Fortune Lady Past. She is the tuner of the deck. She has the innate ability that all Fortune Ladies have, and that is this card's attack and defense become its level times 200. Once per turn, during your standby phase, increase this card's level by 1, max of 12. Her effect is you can target one Fortune Lady monster you control, banishing any number of other spellcaster monsters from your hand, field, and or graveyard, and if you do, increase or reduce that monster's level by the number of monsters banished until the end of this turn. You can only use the effect of Fortune Lady Past once per turn. It's a great ability. It makes it so you can synchro into almost any card you could imagine. Next, we run 3 copies of Fortune Lady Light. She has the same innate ability as Past, and then her unique ability is when this face-up card leaves the field by card effect, you can special summon one Fortune Lady monster from your deck. She is one of the cards you want to banish with Fortune Lady Past, and usually the card I go to summon is Fortune Lady Water. When she is special summoned, you get to draw 2 cards, as long as you control another Fortune Lady monster. A free 2 cards is a great deal. That's it for the 3 ofs of the Fortune Ladies. For the 2 ofs, I run 2 Fortune Lady Fires. You generally never want to see her in your hand, and she has the same innate ability as all the other ones. And when she's special summoned, you can destroy one face-up monster your opponent controls. It's not the best effect, but it's a pretty good one. 1 copy of Fortune Lady Dark. She makes it so when a face-up Fortune Lady monster you control destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can select and special summon 1 Fortune Lady monster from your graveyard. She's great to start recycling your resources. 1 copy of Fortune Lady Wind. She is a card I'm very iffy about in this deck. I've taken her out a few times. Her effect is when she's normal summoned, you can destroy a number of spell or trap cards your opponent controls equal to the number of face-up Fortune Lady monsters you control. That's it for the Fortune Lady aspect of this deck. I also run the Fortune Fairies. I run 2 copies of Fortune Fairy Chi. All the Fortune Fairies have the same ability, and that ability is when you draw this card, you can reveal it, special summon it from your hand, and then after you special summon it from your hand, Chi will make it so you can make both players draw a card. Then I run 2 copies of Anne. Again, all the Fortune Fairies have that same innate ability. And when she's special summoned, you can banish 1 spellcaster monster from your deck. Banishment is a great resource in this deck. That's why I run her. I run 2 copies of Fortune Fairy Sui. When she's special summoned, you banish 1 face-up monster on the field until the standby phase of your next turn. Pretty good ability, can help you clear a field, make you get that extra damage in. Now for the 1-ofs of the Fortune Fairies, I run 1 Fortune Fairy Hue. Her ability is you can target one of your banished spellcaster monsters and add it to your hand. Like I said, we do a lot of banishment in this deck, so she makes it so you can recycle those resources. Always useful. 1 copy of Fortune Fairy Hikari. Her effect is you can target 1 monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon 1 level 1 spellcaster monster from your deck. So you're either going to go for Past or Light, depending on what you need to get a synchro out. Next, I run 1 copy of Dark Doriado. The Pendulum effect is not the one I usually go for. I've used it to beat over other monsters, but that effect is all Earth, Water, and Fire, Wind monsters you control. Gain 200 attack and defense for every different attribute among the monsters you control. It's an okay effect if you need a couple extra attack points to beat over something. I generally use it for its monster effect. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can choose 4 monsters from your deck, 1 Earth, 1 Water, 1 Fire, and 1 Wind. Then place them on top of your deck in any order. You can now arrange your deck's 4 draws, which can really help the tide of a duel. That's it for the spellcasters in the deck. Now we're going to go into hand traps. I run 2 copies of DD Crow. And his ability, during either player's turn, you can discard this card to the graveyard, then target 1 card in your opponent's graveyard, banish that target. Again, we love banishing in this deck. It's not a hard once per turn. Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is one of my favorite hand traps. Her effect is, during your opponent's main phase, You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, then target one effect monster your opponent controls. Negate the effects of the face-up monster your opponent controls until the end of this turn. Honestly, that card comes in clutch so often. It just stops your opponent from doing what they needed to do. And for the last hand trap, I run 2 copies of Nibiru, the Primal Being. His effect is during the main phase, if your opponent normal or special summoned 5 or more monsters this turn, quick effect, you contribute as many face-up monsters on the field as possible, and if you do special summon this card from your hand, then special summon 1 Primal Being token to your opponent's field. The attack and defense become the combined original attack and defense of the attributed monsters. You can only use the effect of Nibiru, the Primal Being, once per turn. He is good to stop combos. If you are going against a combo-heavy deck, he is great. He's a good going second card. And that's it for the hand traps. These are subject to change depending on what decks you're going against and what you like. These are just how I run it. Next, we will be doing the spell cards. These spell cards are honestly the most important part of this deck. You want to run 3 copies of Fortune Vision. When this card is activated, you can add 1 Fortune Lady card from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, if a card you control is banished by a card effect, except during the damage step, you can activate this effect. This turn, monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects, even if this card leaves the field. Once per turn, if a card your opponent controls is banished by card effect, except during the damage step, you can make the next battle damage you take this turn become 0. Even if this card leaves the field, you can only activate 1 Fortune Vision per turn. Both of those effects are amazing. So on your turn, you can make sure your cards aren't being destroyed. On their turn, you take less damage. It's win-win as long as things are getting banished. The next important spell card is Fortune Lady's Calling. If you control a Fortune Lady monster, special summon 1 Fortune Lady monster from your deck with a different name from the cards you control. Also, for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. Except Synchro monsters, you can only activate 1 Fortune Lady Calling per turn. You usually use this if you have Past or Light. You then just use it to get the other one out, and then you Synchro from there. You get full combo from this card. As long as you control a Fortune Lady, you will get your Fortune Lady Every out, plus draw about 3 cards off of it. It's an amazing combo. Lastly, for the 3 of the spell cards, 3 Fortune's Future. Its effect is you select one of your removed from play Fortune Lady monsters and return it to the graveyard. Then you draw 2 cards. With this deck, you can cycle through most of your cards very quickly. The Lucky Loan. Target 1 Fortune Fairy monster you control. Special summon 1 spellcaster monster from your hand or deck whose original level is 1 lower than that monster's. Also, during your next turn, after this card resolves, you cannot normal or special summon monsters except spellcaster monsters. You can only activate 1 Lucky Loan per turn. Again, this whole deck is spellcasters. The fact is, you run a level 2. You'll run a level 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. So basically, everything in this deck is 1 level lower than one of the Fortune Fairies. It can really help you in your synchros. And then the final spell is a Monster Reborn. Now we're going to go over the extra deck monsters I run. Let's start with Fortune Lady Every. She is one of the best boss monsters in this deck. Her effect is, this card's attack and defense become its level times 400. Once per turn, during your standby phase, increase this card's level by 1, max of 12. Then you can banish 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. During your opponent's end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 1 other spellcaster monster from your graveyard. Special summon this card. You can only use the effect of Fortune Lady every once per turn. So she's hard to deal with because she'll come back, and then if she is on the field during your standby phase, she just banishes an opponent's monster, and it's non-targeting. It's amazing. Next, I run 2 of Draco, Berserker of the Tenyi. He is a level 8. Generic monsters are required. 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner monster. This card right here can even take out like Red Eyes Dragoon. So his effect is, when your opponent activates a monster's effect, quick effect, you can banish it. If this attacking card destroys an effective monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. Also, it can make a second attack on monsters during this battle phase. You can only use each effect of Draco Berserker of the Tenyi once per turn. So anything that activates an effect, he can banish, and he gets stronger if he destroys effective monsters by battle. And he starts out as a 3000. He's beautiful. Next, I run a Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend. Another level 8. He is only in here for late game. This guy's effect is, this card's name becomes Red Dragon Archfiend. While it is on the field or in the graveyard, once per turn you can destroy as many special summoned effect monsters on the field as possible with attack less than or equal to this card, other than this card. Then inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. Again, he's summoned at 3,000. He can wipe a board on his own. He's basically a Nibiru, but he also deals that damage. Why wouldn't you run him? That's it for my Synchro package. But let me know if you guys have any ideas for Synchro monsters that could really help out this deck. So the Link monsters I run 3 copies of Selene, Queen of the Master Magicians. So she requires 3 monsters to do, and one of them has to be a spellcaster. Again, this deck is all spellcasters. If this card is Link summoned, place spell counters on this card equal to the number of spells on the field and in the graveyards. Once per turn during the main phase, you can remove 3 spell counters from your field. Special summon 1 spellcaster monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position to the zone this card points to. So you could use her to summon water, get 2 free draws. You could use her to summon every from your graveyard. Next, I play 1 copy of each of the Charmers. So that is 1 Area of the Water Charmer Gentle, 1 Ozza the Earth Charmer Immovable, Wind the Wind Charmer Verdant, and Hita the Fire Charmer Ablaze. They require 2 monsters, including add element here, so Hita requires a fire, Wind requires a wind, Ozza requires an earth, Area requires a water. And then you can target 1 insert element here, monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to the zone this card points to. If this Link summon card is destroyed by battle or is destroyed by an opponent's card effect in its owner's monster zone, you can add 1 insert element here, monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Charmer this turn. Again, she gets resources from your opponent's graveyard because you're only going to be summoning the one that corresponds with their deck. And then if she's destroyed, you get to just add a monster to your hand. Well, that's it for my deck profile. Sorry if I was tripping up on some of my words. This is my first one. Any input would be greatly appreciated. Let me know what you thought about the deck. Let me know if there's anything you would change about the deck. And let me know if there's anything you'd add to the extra deck. Otaku the Viking out.